You guys get out of here and you can have the camp tonight, but I want it back tomorrow and you guys leave me alone. It's my kayak camp, I'm staying here.
Hi, I'm Sean.
And I'm Adam.
And this is SasqWatch. This is our 10th episode this season, and also our last full episode this season. So we wanted to do something a little bit different, and not just do another horror movie. So we decided we would cover a documentary, because there's so many of them. So I picked Bigfoot Girl.
Hi, my name is Kiana, and I am Bigfoot Girl.
In the end, this one really does kind of explain, or like, it gives all the reasons for why we kind of aren't going to cover any more stuff like this in the future.
And it was just bunk, 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 bunk.
What is the plot of Bigfoot Girl? Does a documentary have a plot?
I don't know. I don't want to get into that here.
I think it does. Okay, well, the movie does have kind of a plot. It's about a group of Bigfoot enthusiasts and podcasters that have gathered to venture into the mountains of British Columbia for Bigfoot. It's supposedly one of the Bigfoot hotspots. So they're really excited. You basically follow three people. I mean, there's others in the group, but you're mostly hearing from Bigfoot Girl herself.
Right. His name is...
Kira.
Hi, my name is Kiana.
There's James, the podcaster.
Yeah, and paranormal guy. Expert.
We'll get into James in a minute. We'll put James in a box.
What is Bigfoot? SasqWatch.
And then there's Thomas.
He's the Bigfoot experiencer that they have, and also kind of their guide through the wilderness.
God, it's 18 inches long, so I kind of figure it possibly was the same bugger that rolled that big rock down on me.
Yeah, the movie starts off with some really strange credits. So for a long time, when we first watched this movie, you told me it was a documentary, but for half the movie, I was like, I'm not sure. This could be fake.
Right.
This could be fake people.
The credits and intro make it seem like it's not going to be a documentary.
No.
Hi.
Yeah, for a long time I was like, is Bigfoot going to show up and kill these people? Because if he did, if that had happened, this would be like my favorite Bigfoot movie ever. I would have loved it. But no, Bigfoot does not show up in this film.
No, not at all, actually.
The footprints came right down, they stopped and turned and walked right away.
Yeah.
They all came down to the tree and then left. Like, you're not going to catch us.
So that's the first reason why, we decided not to cover other stuff like this. Is because Bigfoot's not going to show up.
Yeah, he never shows up.
And if
there's no documentary where he shows up.
Right. If there was, then I guess we could review it, but
if he does show up, I don't think the show's not going to exist anymore. If anything, it'll get more popular.
Found that had been brought in by the sea otters. So wildlife abounds in this area.
Who's your favorite of the three main subjects of the movie?
Oh, that's tough to decide.
James.
Probably Bigfoot Girl, but not because she's the one that's like the most entertaining or the
I wish we
most
got
silly.
More of Bigfoot Girl.
I do
you would
too,
think,
because I get the sense that she's deeply disappointed.
Yeah, no,
throughout the couple of scenes that we see in her. Some of the answers that James gives her in this scene right here, and some of the stuff later when she's talking about how James hurt his foot and doesn't want to come out of his cabin.
Yeah, she's got the pathos of the movie where you feel like she kind of set this whole thing up. And I think she believed maybe they would find Bigfoot. It certainly doesn't seem like she's not genuinely a fan of Bigfoot. But it feels like she set this thing up, and as soon as the train hit the tracks, it started going wrong. They like got split up and got lost right at the beginning.
Our group was still lost. There were no signs of a mountain drop anywhere in sight. Our group decided to press on in order to catch up with the rest of the crew.
James fell and hurt his knee, and that was my favorite part of the movie. Like, I laughed so hard. I rewound it over and over and over, and like...
It's not a bad fall. Like it doesn't look like, you know, something that would really hurt. So like it's funny, and it's funny
It's
that
really
following
funny.
that, like you rewound it and rewound it and rewound it while we were watching it the first time, and then like you get to the camp scene and she's like, well, you know, James's leg is hurt, so like
We're not gonna see him tonight.
we're just like, oh, from that.
James hurt himself hiking to the location. So he's just resting in his hut right now. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see him for the rest of the night.
You can feel that something went wrong behind the scenes, though, because like they're getting lost. The movie will divert into like strange things that feel like, you know, grab it while we're there, like them driving or James hurting his knee.
You can just sense that there is maybe some tension between these people, and so that's why she's my favorite of the three. Wait, who's your favorite of the three?
It has to be James. It has to be James because the movie starts with Bigfoot Girl and James kind of meeting each other and discussing things.
I'm just remembering what he said. So she's like, what exactly does she ask him? I know it has to do with like, how did you like?
She basically asks him like,
or,
"Do you believe in Bigfoot?" And he's like, "I don't know if I believe in Bigfoot." So he starts off, and you're like, "Okay, maybe this is like the skeptic character."
Right. And he's just like, well, when I was 5, I realized I could see dead people.
I think it was 9.
9.
I think
Okay.
it was 9.
Well, my experience is basically is ever since I was a little kid, I've seen dead people.
Oh yeah, well I also like am a paranormal person. What did he call himself? An empath.
Oh yeah, he said he was an empath.
He's an empath. And he's like, I was a Canadian Mountie. That's the one that really threw me. Like, I don't know if I really want to dig into like James in real life, but if he is a Mountie, I question if he was riding a horse.
Right.
That's years.
Another reason that I feel like we don't really want to cover documentaries as much is because like these are
real people.
And
Yeah.
like I don't want to like,
you don't want to
like
be too mean about laughing about James.
an actor's performance in something, like that's like
More safe to pick at.
right, because
than
that's
this
not
genuine
just
person.
their fault. There's writing involved in that, and like there's whatever the setting, you know, how the production is. There's a lot of
You
like,
feel bad
angles in
laughing
there.
at these people because this movie
Right.
is very much, these are the Bigfoot people. These are the people that really do believe in Bigfoot, or they really want to, and for them getting to go out into the woods and look around for Bigfoot and film themselves doing it, that's really, really fun. It's just that once they did that and got out there, they realized that there was nothing to do, that they couldn't accomplish anything. So it's a really flat third act to the movie.
Right. And I have to wonder, like, how far did they went to this camp, and then like they just kind of talk about how they like
I mean,
didn't sleep well because it wasn't a comfortable camp.
The fast version of the movie is they gather, they drive to the woods, they hike to the cabin. On the way, they get lost, find each other. James falls and hurts his knee. The following night, I think it was the following night, they get they put a bunch of cherries in the trees.
James's psychic told him to bring cherries when he told her about this trip, so he thought that would like.
You can't tell me that you're the skeptic character, but also tell me that your psychic was like, "Hey, Bigfoot likes cherries."
James had his psychic friend told him to bring cherries. So hopefully this will be a yummy and welcome treat for our Bigfoot fella.
And then when Thomas heard that, you know, he was grinning because he's also got a Bigfoot cherry story. You know, because they're all kind of competing to see who loves Bigfoot the most. You know, Bigfoot girl's like, well, I named myself after my Bigfoot experience. And Thomas is like, well, I've actually come face to face with big feet, and I used my frontal lobe to outsmart them and get everyone to safety. I love that Thomas is like lecturing us about how to behave around Bigfoot.
Right.
Like, he's been through it, he's done it. Now he's telling me, like, if you ever do have your Bigfoot experience, make sure you're being smart about it. Make sure you're wearing a mask. Make sure if there's ever a place to wear a facial mask, it's in the middle of the British Columbian
he actually
wilderness.
says that. Wasn't a joke. He says that in there.
Keep your germs away from Bigfoot, because
Yeah.
God forbid you get them sick.
Which, I mean, is probably a realistic, like, concern, I suppose, but I don't know that it's realistic.
Is it a realistic concern?
Well, no, because Bigfoot's not real, but if he were real, that might be a realistic concern.
Sure.
If he's truly uncontacted, it's possible.
It's
I
nice that
suppose.
Thomas feels that way.
We guesstimated with tape measures that thing would have been standing 7'4".
They all seem like nice people. You know, they don't seem like mean people. It's just funny to see them go out there and tape a bunch of cherries up into the trees and then walk around the next day and they're all still there, and somehow that's still a win. They're like, well, we think Bigfoot did show up. He dodged all of their night cameras. Of course, they caught James on one of them coming out of the woods.
As the night progressed, we thought we had seen Bigfoot, but our eyes were playing tricks on us, sometimes catching our friends.
Maybe he would eat cherries if he were up there, if he were around, but they did not put out enough cherries to feed a creature the size of what you would expect Bigfoot. He's got to eat. Imagine what he'd have to eat. I know I've been all about this whole season. You know, what's Bigfoot eating? But
I mean, it's a valid question.
What does he? This one, you know, we're trying to talk about the real deal. So if he's
Well,
the real
okay.
deal, is he
Then
gonna
I would
eat,
say
like, a
in
couple
this film,
handfuls of
no.
cherries?
I would say in this film, no, he doesn't eat cherries because he doesn't show up and eat the cherries. If Bigfoot eats anything in this movie, it is the passion and dreams of these lost people.
We packed up our things and headed back to the beginning of the hike.
Do you recall why they leave? Do they leave early?
Yeah,
or-
they do leave early.
I
They
thought they
get
did.
to the cabin. They have 2 nights at the cabin. You can tell that James does not like the cabin.
We sat around the fire, waiting for the sun to set to begin our quest through the night.
There's
Right.
several moments where James is like, it's rough sleeping in here. I hurt my knee. I hate going to bed. And you're just like, well, James, what did you think this was going to
Right,
be?
you guys are going into, like, the wood. If you were going to find Bigfoot, an uncontacted creature, I feel like you're going to have to go pretty deep into the woods.
He's not going to have air conditioning, man. Like,
Right.
He's lugging that giant pack that he falls with. He's lugging it around, and he's like, I brought all the stuff to make the plaster mold for if we find a footprint. And so
they find a footprint.
they find a footprint.
They make sure that they do that. And he's the one to outline it for us, like, where it is. And I'm looking at it,
What is
and
he,
I'm
a
like...
bush pointer? Is that what he calls it when he picks up
Yeah.
Starts up at the toe. Here. Use my bush pointer. Again, footprint starts or ends here.
And I'm looking at it like maybe if you like did it the opposite way from what like where he's saying the toes are. I'm like, if you told me that was the heel and you told me this stuff up here was the foot, I might have bought it. But not when you're doing it that way.
No.
And he's just like, oh, well, you know, I haven't really done casting mold on like a bunch of like pine needles and stuff before. And I'm just thinking like,
He starts pouring it, and
why don't you just brush it out before you pour it?
We were like, what is he doing? What are you doing? Oh, yeah. Like, I've seen
And he
reviews.
lifts it up and he looks at it and he's just like, yeah, well, just once these, you know, needles are off of here.
No, when he lifts it up, everyone's gathered. He's like, at this point, James has told everyone that he found the foot and he did the cast, and everyone's in a circle. And when he pulls it up and everyone can see it, like, you feel
the wave of disappointment. Just
yeah, they might come back for the head camera interview or the voiceover and be like, no, I really feel like we found some solid evidence, and I think that I believe in Bigfoot more now than ever. But when he pulls that up, you can feel everyone there. It's like, oh, what a waste of time. What a loss. What a waste. That moment for me was pretty, like, that speaks volumes about what it is to be a Bigfoot enthusiast and what you ultimately are going to get from that. So for that reason, I do like this documentary.
Right, and it tells it outlines all those reasons. Like, Bigfoot's not going to be in it. We're dealing with real people's like hopes and dreams here, and like it's gonna be boring.
My disappointment was overshadowed by the footprint we found.
That's like what's fascinating about it and boring, is you're like wondering like what are these people really looking for out here? Because they can't really think they're gonna find Bigfoot, or do they? But on the other hand, you're like, they're not going to find him. So the whole time you're just like waiting for this hike to end. And they do call it early. They do
It's true.
Call it early.
It might have been a longer movie in another universe.
Well, that's what I'm saying about you can feel that things went wrong behind the scenes, because there's definitely some tension between Bigfoot Girl and James happening. And when they're going back at the end, I think she even comments that like, yeah, we didn't stay out here as long as we planned or really work as hard as I thought we would. But we all still had fun. And you can kind of tell, like, when the cameras were off. Like, I bet James wasn't very fun. I bet he wasn't having a good time in the movie.
It didn't seem like it.
We're going to come back someday and spend a little more time here and see what's going on.
Okay, so what did you think of this movie technically?
It didn't have all of the failings that some of the other ones had. In fact, it was decently well shot, I suppose. The camera looked nice enough, I guess. Their woods that they were in looked like real woods. I mean, it was nice enough.
It's one of those things where it's not... I don't want to just say that it's like not technically accomplished, because I think it's shot fine, the audio's fine. I can't blame the editor, because I feel like the editor, it's 69 minutes long. Like, he got
70,
he got just a couple of interviews and some footage of them lost in the woods, and it's hard to make a movie out of that. So I just feel like you can tell that behind the camera, like, was there not a plan fully tracked out for this film? Like, did they not get everything they wanted? Because it jumps around in a weird way where, like, for a while you're, like, meeting them, and then they're driving, and then we interview this couple out of nowhere that's also a Bigfoot couple that's got their story.
Right.
Most of the stories are just like, I saw him in the woods, and I turned around, and I left, and I knew it was him. It was, 100 yards away and blurry, and it was, at first I thought it was a bush. That wasn't no bush.
That is kind of how they all play out. And they even talk about when they're telling the story, they're like, we don't really like to tell this story because, like, we don't want people to think we're, like, crazy or anything. And I'm just like, well, I don't think, like, you're crazy. I don't think you saw Bigfoot.
You shouldn't have appeared in Bigfoot Girl if you were worried about that.
They don't have time to expend energy building these big, huge sculptures. Us hippies that smoke pot have time to do that in the forest.
It's not very well crafted, I would say. Like, the camera's not a bad quality camera, but the interviews go on for so long.
I think they're still fairly entertaining as long as they go, but
they are entertaining, but they like really needed some kind of cuts in there, because by the time Thomas is done telling his story, you feel like you've known him for years. You're like, old Thomas telling his SasqWatch story again.
The bush code is harvesting as much protein in the least amount of time with the least expenditure of forest. Like when you look at pictures on the internet, people go into creeks and build these beautiful balancing rock structures. But wintertime when the leaves are all down.
So it's a documentary. At the end of the documentary, do you think that Bigfoot exists? No,
it didn't change my mind at all. And I think even if he did exist, that this is not how you're going to find him. Not with the cherries. Not with the, like, paranormal podcaster. Not with, like, the boastful bushman.
I mean, I would rather watch another movie just about these people looking for Bigfoot than I would the like serious hunters though.
Oh,
Like
right.
that.
Yeah.
At least these people are authentic, and I think there is value in that. You can laugh at them, or have fun with their stories, but they don't feel. I don't think anyone's lying to me in this movie. They're just, having fun with what they like. I wish that they had more tools or a little more stamina, maybe, to get there. But they're harmless people. It's a harmless movie. Of all the Bigfoot encounters that we hear in the film, which one did you think sounded the most plausible?
Maybe Bigfoot girls.
Bigfoot girls? That was the one that's like the farthest away
True.
and the least detail given. I feel like Thomas's
That's true.
account,
No.
He's at least got all the details down.
He knows how too many details.
He's got
down.
exactly how far away his dog was. He knows which 2 trees were shaken.
Yeah,
which dinghies
he's gone too far.
left.
He's making. I mean, none of them. I don't think any of them are like.
Do you believe that psychic guessed James's mom's name?
Maybe. I don't think that she divined it.
Do you believe that James was a member of the Canadian Mounties? I want to know on camera, are you calling him a liar?
So here's what I'll say, is I was indeed skeptical, and I want to say no, but I don't know enough about the Canadian Mounties. It might just be easier to get into that group than I initially thought. I mean, are they just police?
And then I spent 28 years as a member of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
I was excited to watch this movie for free on Tubi. That was fun.
With ads, but
with ads.
And we discovered that Tubi has a whole bunch of Sasquatch movies.
Yeah,
so
a
we're
lot.
Definitely probably going to be drawn from Tubi in the future. So if you'd like to check this one out,
have at it.
Fun
Jump
to hear.
in there, hang out with the gang. I guess in some way it's kind of a sad movie, but in most ways it's like a very lighthearted watch.
Yeah.
I think we had breakfast while we were watching this.
Yeah,
that seems right. Like you said, it won't actually take up that much of your time, but mentally you'll be... I think we were kind of, the first time we watched it, we were kind of like loosely watching it until James started talking about seeing ghosts, and that's when we had to like sit down and be like, hold on. Hold on, I lost me here.
Behind me, over my shoulder, and she told me my mother's name was Lexa, L-E-X-A. Well, pick that out of a hat.
that was pretty fast though. It was pretty quick in the
It
movie.
did grab
and
my
it kept
attention.
us from there. I mean, and on another watch, it was similar. It kind of kept my attention.
Okay, so what would you say you would rate this film?
We're able to find Bigfoot, if we're able to get some prints like you said, or even just anything with them being in the presence of Bigfoot is going to be interesting.
Even just a smell, that would be
Even
great.
something, yeah, just a little something.
I feel like I don't know if it rates in the same way as the other films, but
I think if you walk into this movie and you're thinking like, I'm gonna watch this documentary about finding Bigfoot, you're gonna walk home empty-handed. But I don't know that there is any documentary that you're not gonna walk home empty-handed. But I've seen a lot of very angry, harsh reviews of this film.
Oh, really?
By people who like believe in Bigfoot, and they're just like, no, this movie's awful. And I'm looking at it from a different lens.
If you believe in Bigfoot, though, I can see that also hating this. Because
That
it's like, you guys are
disappointment.
giving us a bad name. You out here, like, barely trying.
But for me, watching it and just watching it as a movie about Bigfoot people, I feel like that's what they're like. I mean, between the 3 of them that you really follow, I feel like everyone knows someone like at least one of them. They're all very familiar feeling people. At times you feel bad for them. At times you're happy that they have this passion. But at no point are they really achieving anything.
This was one group's experience, and there are many others out there.
So yeah, I'm going to give it 2 big feet.
I was also going to give it 2 big feet.
Yeah, that's a generally.
I was fighting
higher-
myself between 1 and 2, or 1. I guess I should have done 1.5, but we'll
So-
say 1 3/4.
Yeah, good for Bigfoot Girl. There's worse things you could watch.
As we left beautiful Vancouver Island and said goodbye to the land of the Sasquatch, I couldn't help but reflect on our findings and my feelings towards Bigfoot. The sense of purpose was fulfilled.
So, I hope you've enjoyed our 10th episode of SasqWatch. We're not going to be covering any more films this season, but we are going to have a wrap-up episode where we talk about all the films that we watched so far. Don't forget to like and subscribe and maybe make some of your friends watch the show, because it'd be nice. It'd be nice of you to do that.
What about SasqWatch?
Wasn't in this movie.
We haven't even watched this movie.
What are we even doing way out here? Can we
This
just
is horrible.
Yeah,
This is a
imagine
horrible
going
What?
to this place to swim. How disappointed would you be?
I wouldn't get in. I would not. I'd be like, well, that's not fun, guys. I
It looks
barely even
dirty.
believe that I could sit down in there.
That's just still one.
Oh my god.
Oh, he's coming at the camera. He's got to stop it. It's like that scene. It's like that scene from Sideways.
Hi, I'm Sean,
And I'm Adam.
and this is SasqWatch.
This week, this week,
Hi, I'm Sean,
and I'm Adam.
and this is SasqWatch.
So this time on SasqWatch is our last episode.